Greetings to the people. My name is Helring Raonk. Some know me as Mabweze or Eze Okoye. I would be considered a wellness coach, communicating the linkages of medicine traditions of indigenous people of this earth. If you're interested in learning how the body can attune to energy, to heal yourself or to empower your works and empower your meditations via Qigong or whatnot, I'm your man for that. I'm also interested in shamanic practices, what you would call shamanic practices. In my tradition in Nigeria, we call that, in Igbo land, we call that Dibia practice. And in China, they will call that the practice of the Wu. So how shamanic practitioners conduct their medicine, that's also one of my specialties.
All right, peace everyone. My name is Jeffrey Edwards, aka Jeff or Geo. I'm an acupuncturist, herbalist, gardener, amongst other things, writer, artist. And I'm really here for that bridge, that merging together of various worlds of the art and the science, or the arts and the healing. Many of my lessons that have informed my practice have come from cultivating these plants and wild crafting and foraging for these plants, looking at how they grow and how they become teachers for myself in these natural environments. I'm an avid believer in the power of plants and people to be able to do wonderful things when we mesh together. I'm into the art of this medicine, really the ritual of the medicine, the things and the small ceremonial acts and the things that we can do within ourselves to alter our minds, and by altering our minds, altering spirit and altering matter at its lowest forms all the way up to its highest.
So we just dealing with Nappy Medicine today, huh?
Nappy Medicine, man. I thought it was just a rare opportunity that we had to be able to do something, collaborative. And like I said, I've been thinking about that for some time. Like, okay, what are some ways we can put together, just some conversations? Because you have these conversations. I'm on WhatsApp with colleagues from across the country, across the world. It's just like these very rich, conversations like that don't make it outside of that space. So it's like, okay, how can we do something that extends it and share? Because it's like some, like you say, some very special exchanges. Every time we build and connect, it's like something like, wow, that was like
heavy hands.
Yeah, that was heavy. So I want to make sure we get those special moments.
Yeah, it's important, bro. Like we were just vibing on the medicine of the scents. This beautiful incense that you have, and if you want to think about in Kemetic culture, so we're in the winter solstice now, essentially. I was here in a couple of days, and they say in the Bible that they anointed the newborn king, the baby Jesus, with the oils of frankincense, myrrh. I remember the third one. Maybe it was spikenard or something, which is very rich root. But the science of the frankincense is interesting because frankincense is the scent of the sun, solar, right? And in the cult or the priesthoods of Heru back in Kemet, that would be the chief oil used to awaken the Son of God, right? And it's interesting how that same idea has come into Christianity, or probably has been borrowed, or being very generous, it's called it borrowed.
borrowed.
Being generous, because borrowing implies that you're citing a source.
It was definitely taken into. Into
emphasize taking.
Yeah.
And but this scent is the scent that you'll be burning, especially on December 24.
Okay.
Because everything is like a ritual to us, right? Everything is ritual. Like, I remember Dr. Africa be like, because we're so religious as a people, we drop our spoon and be like, oh Lord.
Oh Lord, right. It's a moment, it's a thing.
It's a thing. You gotta
life is imbued with spirit.
Always.
Yeah.
See, so if you wanted to kind of come back to quote unquote Black Hand side, on December 24, 11:59 p.m., the last moments of the solstice. You could do it before that, of course, but you want to light the frankincense, right? And that scent will awaken. It's going to hit. So what it's really doing is hitting that part of our spirit. And so the Kemetic culture has Heru is the sixth sphere of the spirit. It's the direct heart of the tree of life, right? It's the direct center, and it's akin or analogous to what the Chinese call the Shin.
The Shin, got you.
Right? And what's interesting about the Shin, X-I-N.
Shin as in heart, Shin.
Is the heart.
Yeah.
Is the will.
Yeah.
As the, that kind of, the mind and the heart combined, really. And that Shin is, in Chinese medicine, they say has no acupuncture points. And what's interesting is Heru is the direct embodiment of Amen. And when you look at Amen, Amen is no thing.
No thing.
Right? So you really can't tap into Amen externally, but you really can't tap into Heru externally either. They're both shared. So Amen would be akin to like the consciousness of us, and Heru is the fullest externalization of the consciousness, which we call the will, right? So in Chinese medicine, when they say the heart has no acupuncture points, and the heart in Kemet was representing Heru, and Heru is tied in with this nothingness called Amen, then it kind of brings new layers of understanding into what Chinese people are trying to tell you. But they probably don't fully understand it because they're not coming back far enough into the culture where these ideas originated.
And right. When they first were germinating in the minds and of masters.
Masters, absolute masters.
Yeah. And that's interesting because that makes me think of in acupuncture. Depending on in many styles you'll find that, or in different treatments that the heart is either the last. Official that you touch, or the last channel that you touch, or you don't needle on heart, or many times beginning acupuncturists are, in some traditions are taught not to even treat. We don't treat on the heart channels. There's other ways and accesses through, paired meridians and channels. So that's
it's deep what you just said, because there's a sister, I'll say her name. I know she won't mind. Wangaza. Acupuncturist, a sister, a beautiful sister here in the area, the DMV, and we worked at the same. After I left City Acupuncture, I came to her space, and we were doing work. I rented a space out there, and I was seeing people, and the benefit of that is sometimes like when it'd be slow or we'd be in between clients, we could work on each other, and so sometimes she'd be like, "Yeah, I say I want to get a treatment. I see what you're doing. I like what you're doing in there. Let me get a treatment." So I treat her, no problem. And then she would do the same for me. And I told her one time I had this dream about, that point we talked about earlier, relating to the heart in the back. And she said, whoa, and we were taught really never, like, when you approach the heart, that's something you really...
reverence.
Yeah. And she said, I think it was in the school Thai Sophia. I think it was still called that at the time when she was there, or MUIH now. She was saying... to actually needle that particular point that represents the heart, you have to do, like you said, pay reverence. And I was like, well, could you do that for me? And she had a knee that was hurting, but she still went ahead. She took off her shoes, got down on one knee, prayed, and then put the needle in that point. I was like, wow, all for the heart.
All for the heart. There's a treatment called AE, which stands for aggressive energy. It's a type of presentation you can find. Something person's pulses are. You just feel like that just edge. The name says for the most part, but it's really like just these lurking, pathogens that can be at the surface. It can be interior working. It's just this bubbling at the surface and. One of the ways that this is treat it when we go through, so the back points, you have the various shoe points on the back, and you treat every other channel and then go back, only then, and then you can. But it's like everyone else is, it's like this stair process of walking to the top of the pyramid. It's like, okay, we got to get to the apex, you know.
Right.
So that's it, man. The heart and the will is, or the heart and the mind is that's where, you know, that's where I'm at, you know, personally right now this year, and with this solstice upon us, that's like really been a guiding place for my meditations.
Back in those days, like the major aspect of the solstice, winter solstice, is that Haru is born during this year. So your will is born during this year, right? And I know the Chinese call the will the Je, right? But if you think about it, it's very, I'll show the correspondence, right? Because Haru is born out of Oset, right? Or the Greeks out there would say Horus is born out of Isis. Or the Yoruba would say Shango is born out of Yemeja. And Yemeya is the ultimate yin, right? She's the ultimate yin force, the ultimate water, feminine force, the ability to enter trance, to go into the inner world, right? Complete. So the extreme yin gives birth to the yang. You see the connections. So this is this time period, right? December, they say, is the longest night of the year. So December 24, 1, 2, 3, and 4, December 21 through 24 are the longest nights of the year. And December 25 becomes the return of the light. So that'd be in the I Ching hexagram 24, which is the return, which has a yang line with all yin lines above. Right? So the 24th hexagram is dealing with the winter solstice, the birth of Haru, the birth of our light, the birth of the fire, the light, the yang principle within us. But what I was saying is, you know, this time period of Oset, or the Mary, or whatever you want to call that energy, is giving birth to our will. And the Chinese consider the Zhi, Z-H-I, the will, the ambition that comes out of the kidneys. And there's no disagreement here, because if you look at it like Oset, it's kind of representative of that force, that yin-yang force, and the Jing, that represent that kidney energy purely, right? And then out of that water is coming forth this fire, you see?
Yeah.
And it's kind of deep, so like, because they say that the Zhe represents ambition, will, right? And we know in Kemetic culture, Haru represents
the will.
Come on.
Yeah. Sitting right there in the center.
Right?
Being able to see every angle, everything. You know, everything. Yeah,
so the sun is the solar of our galaxy, right? Solar system, right?
Yeah.
So the sun is the solar, is the center of our life. That will is the center of our life. And that will is the harbinger or the carrier of the consciousness that we are.
Yeah, that's what we call, you know, the Shao Yin. It's like that Shao Yin, or you know, that heart kidney axis when you think of. And that, like I say, so that's where, you know, just on the line of meditating, that's really where I've been, is really just focusing on like that rebirth, and how do we get fire out of water. Like that's alchemical,
right?
You know,
true alchemy.
Yeah.
You know, Haru being the gold and Haru being the silver. So I wonder then, you know, there's a herb that represents the gold and silver. You know, that's
the gold and silver.
Yeah, that's honeysuckle.
Honeysuckle.
Yeah.
Oh, that makes sense.
Yeah, that in the name it means. So you know, the Chinese used to use that as an alchemical herb because it has flecks of silver inside of it and it looks golden. It has this energetics, so that would be like a pure energy or a pure herb if you were interested in meditating on like this time of year. These concepts that we're kind of vibing on, that would be something that can be very helpful in that kind of approach, you know. And then if you wanted to add to that formula, you could probably add something, you know, any herb that you love that has the ability to open the senses. right?
So aromatic, something aromatic, yeah.
Exactly.
Cut through the turbidity and just open,
open you up so you can receive the light that is happening naturally in the universe, but also the light, if you're doing your cultivation work, that will be happening within you. You're trying to perceive that birth, that rebirth of the will. It's the most triumphant time of the year for our people, you know?
Yeah.
So.
And it's, and with the, just based on where you live, the difference of, climates and how, depending on the level of how people are able to experience a winter or not, but just this idea that the winter solstice is it. This is it.
This is it. Like, this is, I was talking to somebody the other day. I was talking to my Qigong class Tuesday, and I was sharing with them, I think it was after our conversation, I was all hyped up.
Right.
And I was sharing with them that, the great pyramids of Khufu, right, that whole Giza complex in Kemet, that those 3 major pyramids, Khufu's and the other 2, are related to the Orion constellation, right, the belt of Orion. And then they show that Orion's belt has the same mathematics and arrangement, like the same way it's like you have 1, 2, and then you have 1 like a little bit off this line, 1, 2, and then 1's off the line. That's the same way it shows up in Orion, right? It's a parallax, right? They matches perfectly. But the deep thing is, there's a book called The Temple of Man by R.A. Schwaller de Lubitz.
Yeah. I got his Sacred Science, and he's got some, some jewels, heavy.
His whole life work was on the Temple of Man at Luxor in Kemet, and he discovered that same angles that exist from between those 3 stars in Orion, and then the 3 pyramids exist in the head between the pineal gland, the pituitary gland, and
hypothalamus. That's it.
Right?
Yeah.
So you see there's this very deep connection from what they say as above, so below. And Kemet was just a place, and not just Kemet, I mean, really a lot of Africa.
Yeah, a lot of
and the old world, too.
Yeah, Atlantean civilizations and such that, it's, no, that's it. That's powerful right there. I mean, that's enough to chew on in itself.
Right. When I was younger, growing up in the suburban town, Brockport, upstate New York, a little suburb of Rochester, and my father used to take me to this guy downtown because we lived in a canal town. So,
really?
Yeah. So it was like, that's why it's called Port, Brockport. We had all these port towns like Brockport, Spencerport, Fairport, Lockport. And all these ports were fed by the canal back in the days, like in the 1800s. That's how these towns sprung up. And so still to this day, all the livelihood is still by the canal. And my dad would take me down there. And there was this is like in the 80s, man. Late 80s, and there was this European cat. I don't remember his name. I don't even know if I ever knew his name. But he was a vacuum cleaner vendor, right? Repairman. And he would sell and fix vacuums. But he had a little culture in him, and he traveled to Japan frequently, and he would come back with the most luxurious incense.
Really?
This kind of reminds me of that kind of, man, there'd be beautiful boxes. You would never suspect it.
It's the whole, when you purchase it, it's a whole package.
Yes.
Like, wow, okay.
And you open it, and that thing is just hitting you in the head all over the place. Man, that man had me stunned up like just smelling incenses as a youngster. But it gave me a big appreciation for oils and scents and making incense and aromatherapy. And I'm sure he helped seed who I am today with that experience.
I got to check out that honeysuckle just because it's something, it grows. And what's interesting is so many of these herbs, that we've been talking about even today happen to be those that are the invasives that are everywhere, that are taking over. It's like this is the hand of nature pushing us to embrace this other aspects of knowing and ways of being with, with nature and creation. And because it's written in us, like you say, the pyramid is written. I mean, that Giza complex has from the distance from the earth to the sun, the distance from the earth to the moon is all written into the same. It's all there, and it's written into our DNA.
It's in our body, yes.
So he's writing that, describing that DNA, describing, transcribing, transcribing that into our. Yeah, that's powerful.
It's powerful. So what I was trying to say with that, just to wrap the thought, was that Khufu, right, the king, the Shechem, right? Because Africans didn't call anybody pharaoh. That's a Greek word. The Shechems. Shechem means power, right? We got to come back with culture. This is Nappy Medicine now.
Right.
And
Shechem.
So the Shechem.
Shechem.
Power of powers. And they're talking about specific power that's coming out of the third sphere of your spirit, what the Kabbalists would call Binah. Binah, right? And that's a place where your mantras are empowered to come to life, right? So out of that realm, that's where people who have elevated their consciousness up to that Shechem level of their spirit, when they speak, their word becomes manifest, right? And that's essentially what you would call pharaohs, right? People, because you couldn't be a pharaoh and just be a chump. Like in the old kingdom, you had to be an initiate.
Yeah,
you had a school.
This isn't anybody's. Yeah, this is.
And the best of Europe, right? The best of Europe, which was Pythagoras. Look how long it took him to become initiated.
How's that?
He begged these Africans at their knees for 20 years. He came, and 20 years they rejected him, said, "You're not ready, you're not pure enough, you're not clean, you're not humble." 20 years before they decided to allow him in and teach him the elementary things. But the elementary things revolutionized all of Europe. Revolutionized Greece and gave birth to Rome and this whole Western world, right? And that was just elemental knowledge.
That was your little pieces. That was just the alphabet. It wasn't, You
see? 20 years. So, but the idea is that those pyramids, the whole reason they were brought into construction is because they wanted, at that time period, the priest caste, Khufu and them, wanted an exact marker of the exact moment the winter solstice hit Kemet, right? And they said that the construction of those pyramid complex was equivalent today multi-billions of dollars of funds. And there's still records of people like kind of complaining like, why are we doing this? Why are we spending so much money on, they didn't understand. Because Khufu and his foresight and the priesthood and their foresight understood that at one time, or it's just law of cycles. Anything that rises must what?
Must fall.
Must fall. So the people fell, but they didn't want this ageless wisdom to fall out of. Because if they wrote it on books, it'd be gone.
Yeah, papyrus. Yeah, it gets aged, it gets damp or wet, or just from weathering and
burned.
Yeah.
Or Arabic people would just use it as toilet paper or something. So they had to make it in a place that preserves things for eternity. And that's what the pyramids was. So, like, imagine that this nation spent the equivalent multi-billions to build these complexes to preserve this knowledge. But the main thing that they were built for was to show the exact moment that the winter solstice was upon them. Right? So that they could, begin the rituals and everything that they were doing at that time to make Egypt the powerhouse that it was. You see, so that should be at least a signal to us today, those who have eyes to see, ears to hear, to really consider this profound time period that we're entering.
Yeah. It's profound across. I mean, just from on a galactic. In the fact that so many people are unaware of how much of these influences from these planetary bodies and these stars and such that are right now is at a peak time. You're able to tap in, and that's what you see that everyone the word is like the time to, if you have an intention to sow those and things you want to manifest and make some progress, and with these planetary, this Jupiter and Saturn, this influence, that's that's
That's what it is, bro.
Yeah.
That's what it is. And I love that word you use, receptive, right? Because this is the time of the year when we are most receptive to reprogramming or deprogramming our thinking. Right? The ability to go into your brain, your memories, your addictions, your obsessions, your hang-ups, your inner conflicts, but also your aspirations and your inspirations, and go in and take out the gunk and that's a deprogramming, and then you can reprogram a program that is leading you towards success.
Like,
right? Yeah, and that's representative of that Heru being born.
That Heru, and that's just when you mention the aromatics, when we think about what those aromatics, those orifice opening, herbs, and what it's doing is cutting through dampness. When we think of the muck, you use the word like the mucks, all the stuff, everything, and that transformation of the muck and piercing through, it's like it can't stand. But these are things that have to be transcended, and this is an amazing way that you can do it.
Amazing. So, what are some that you, just for the people who may not know what the aromatics may be, what are some that you could recommend?
So I'm hooked on Magnolia. I'm really with the Magnolia bark. This is one for me that it has it's so many different connections. Just when I think of family connections, ancestral connections, like my earliest memories of my grandparents in their home is a magnolia tree that's in the yard, and so it's just a plant that this was years before even knowing that this would be one, just the smell of it. I use it a lot in just formulas, but it's really about cutting through stuckness in the middle, in the upper parts of ourselves. So it's really just that conversation of, if you're trying to get that jur, up from the water up into, to manifest into, that will, in that will of Heru, you need to make sure that there's no impediments to that along the journey or along the way. So with the middle, that uprise, that surge, we can't have things that you can't be, walking around with, your system, completely weighed down and damp and sluggish, digesting fecals and stuff. So this process of cutting through and eliminating all that to make that passageway and that light, that light wants to travel. And you just cutting all the impediments out the way. So Magnolia is definitely one for me. Really it's stood the test of time, like as I throwing it in, just to give that nod to that process.
I'm with it.
Yeah.
I like to use impediment things to open up the orifices. I'm very much into polygala, or what's the other word? A chorus. A chorus.
Shechangpu.
Right.
Ooh, that's amazing. I wish y'all could smell that. This is it's just an amazing, and it's another turbidity cuts through phlegm. We use Shechangpu when things are like just conglomerated phlegm, just the dampness is built up and now it's just folding and layering, and it can cut through
It's powerful because I was able to get some. Somebody gave me some. I met some people at Smile Herbs, and they have a beautiful garden in the back. Have you seen that garden?
I haven't.
God, they have a humongous herbal garden back there. Huge.
Really?
Burdock. They got a lot there, and I didn't even know. I had peeped it before, but I didn't really know them. Then one day, I was just talking to people. They saw I had some knowledge. They said, "Hey, come back here.
Come back here and check out what we got." Right.
And they showed me the whole thing. I was like, wow. They got a serious. So anytime you go to Smile Herbs, try to get in the back.
Gotcha.
And the lady there, she gave me some Shechangpu, which I planted and started developing a relationship with the herb, and I use it quite a bit in my herbal tonics and my even I have an essential oil of the same, Okoye, right? Or sometimes they call it calamus, right?
Calamus, right?
Yeah, and like you said, it slashes through turbidity, removes dampness, And essentially, when you look at turbidity or phlegm, we're looking at the idea of confusion, that which clouds the mind. Like you said, you want that je to raise up. The sun wants to come up. It doesn't want to always stay down, stay set. It wants to rise, you know? So we got to clear out those things that are blockading, you know? And to this point, there's a very interesting point at the bottom of the foot called kidney 1, young 1. But in the old days, that's a new name. You know the old name of it?
What's that?
Tong 1.
Tongue 1. Okay.
And tong means that which penetrates. Tong, you know, with that which pierces through the impediments. That's tong. And that's the bottom of the foot.
The bottom of the foot.
Ancient understanding.
Yeah.
So there's nothing to say that while you're using your herbs to open up the orifices, why can't you put some moxibustion in?
Oh yeah.
Or even if you have your aromatic herbs, burn that at kidney 1.
Yep.
At this time when you're looking to pierce through darkness to access your own light. And see what happens in those meditations and those dreams, especially on those sacred times of December 21 through 24. We're just sharing here, you know.
It's a lot. So that's just a space. It's just a good space to be in, man. I'm just very excited. You know, considering everything that up to throughout this year, that, you know, things that have come, you know, our way as a people, as a community, myself personally, as a family. And despite that, this is a beautiful moment to just, like, I'm all in. I just been so thankful to just be in study mode, just studying, just like sun up, sunrise, I'm in something, looking at something, you know, just like I say, getting my meditation, doing my qigong, just in a very just, or as much as possible, allowing myself to be in that receptive state for whatever. Yeah.
It's important. You know, I remember I was at this retreat in Virginia, Prince William Forest, about 3 years back, and I remember, you know, I was like kind of feeling myself like, because there were some Chinese medicine folks there, you know, some doctors, some physicians, and you know, we'd all be talking like at this medical clinic cabin, and because we had this whole like 300 people campers there, you know, and so I was talking amongst these elders in the medicine, and they're like, man, where you get these angles from? Like, where you get this knowledge from? You didn't go to school. You like, where you know? But I've got great teachers. You know, I've got phenomenal teachers, and I meditate and I study and I'm applying things in real time. And so, you know, I just walked away feeling, you know.
Yeah, brush it off. Yeah.
I'm feeling myself a little bit. In Nigeria, we say the lizard, when he fell from the big tree and landed on his feet, nobody was there to praise him, so he had to praise himself.
Wipe his shoulders off.
Had to praise himself. Like, that was a great feat. So I was feeling like this, and I just remembered I use oracles when for many different purposes, and I just was like, I flipped the oracle as the I Ching, or some people I Ching, and I flipped it and asked the question like, comment on my spiritual development. Comment on my spirit. I just wanted to check in with the wisdom faculty within and see what the wisdom faculty had to share with me. And it was interesting what it told me. It gave me hexagram 2. And the second hexagram is all receptive lines. And there was a changing line that changed into another hexagram, but it was saying essentially like, that which you've gained, this is literally what I'm saying, that which you've gained, don't take it to your head like it's you. Remember that it's your work, that spiritual and these things, and the receptivity that you put in, that's what's coming back to you. But it was caution me, don't get a big head about it. Yeah. Because then I'm coming out of the receptivity and into the yang aspect, where we want to be in the receptive, we'll just be fed by the ancestors, fed by our, you can call it DNA, are you fed by the Neteru, these forces, right? These gods, goddesses. You want to be in that state where they're feeding you because they know more than you.
Yeah.
You know, so even if there's a thing that I don't know, I know how to become quiet and enter that receptive state. Some people call it channeling, and just wait for the words to arrive, wait for the thoughts, the ideas, the psychic energies to arrive, and then you speak. You know, and I'm finding myself doing that more and more these days. But it takes you learning to become receptive, right? They say, in order to lead, you must first follow. You know, so you got to put your understanding to the back and just become an open sponge, and then soak that in, and from that, then you begin to learn to lead.
Yeah, that's that. I mean, when you spoke earlier about, you know, ISIS or Osset, and just this idea of when you think about that receptivity, matched with a particular devotion to carry out this larger than yourself. It's this grand, you know, task, if you will, this grand. It has to come about, but then you have to go into this place to allow yourself to gather all those like disparate parts of yourself, and
bring it in, right?
Yeah, and restore and bring these things back to life with your own, you know, dedication and that devotion, and then from that, Heru, you know, is emerging from this process. That's just. Yeah, that's enough to chew on. that's just that, like it's like all of it's so many levels, and it's like it's open to, you know, the more that you meditate on, I mean, on anything or spend time with, but you look at these stories, these grand legends, is so much encoded in this, and it's just as you just spend more time with it, more things unfold and through it, and it's different understandings of it. Yeah.
Just think of like water, like you were talking about. Osset goes and gathers, right? So there's a word in Mandarin called Hai, Hai, right? Which is the ocean, right? Like Chi Hai, Chi ocean of Chi Hai, and Osset represents, or Yemaya is the ocean goddess. She's a water goddess. She's gathering all these energies in. Why? Because it's from the ocean that life comes, right? It's from the waters, our kidney energy, the depth that's submerged in that. It's from those things, from that place, life emerges. And so the water has two basic movements. It has an in and an out, just like the breath, right? Just like the lungs. And there's a connection between the lungs and the water, but we'll probably hit that on another podcast. We don't want to overburden their heads too much today. But you know, the idea of this gathering, the Chinese will talk about hui, the return, right? The return, the consolidation of energy, right? So when you want to create something new, you have to consolidate, right? And Jeffrey Yuen, he dropped a jewel on me this year, right? Because, you know, in alchemical practices or whatnot, oftentimes in temples, when you're cultivating yourself and you want to kind of bring yourself to another level, you have to go through a period where you consolidate your jing, your hui, your this return of this hui jing, the return of this jing energy. But if you try to consolidate and you're not really ready to transform into something new, right? If you're just doing it to think, okay, I heard in the books they say you got to do this, but I'm still going to hold on to this version of me. Those waters are not going to be able to fully transform you into something new.
That's a word, y'all. The man just dropped the word. You got to listen. Nugget.
So you have to be able to you're gathering, because that life, that spiral, that same vortex energy that you see when a galaxy is being formed, right? And you know, the newness that comes out of that spiral, that galaxy, those new stars, this new birth, a new life, new light, it's to do something new, You can't bring the same old
Can't sing the
self
dreams.
into, and no, you want to get rid of that part of you, because really, in the final equation is that, yes, we're man, male, female, but that's not our final destination, right? This is just like
Earth isn't our final destination. It's so much vast. Like it's like there's parts of you that's like, okay, we're here, but okay, let's get on, because there's a whole there's a whole eternity before you.
Exactly.
And when you shed this shell, this thing, and this place, that's like the Gnostics. It's like this is just one. This is the lower. This is the lowest. This is the lowest form. You got nowhere to go but up from here.
You don't want to stay here.
You don't want to stay here. You don't want to keep cycling back to this. Yeah.
I mean, it's cool to be here. Don't get me wrong. I'm happy to be here. But I know this is not final destination.
It's not the final destination, and that's where we have to always be. And this is the perfect time of year to be reminded of that. Exactly.
We didn't even talk about ourselves. This brother's a major herbalist in the area, major healer. So if you need some medication, you need some healing in your family, yourself, you need to come check him out.
Definitely.
And I'm sure he's going to put the link of his
links
business
and everything.
and so
New
on.
Healing Arts, www.newhealingarts.com. Check me out. And likewise, brothers teaching. We got a shamanic qigong martial arts master in the building. It's just like, man, it's just like you say, always great to, always build, and every conversation is always a push up. It's like, iron sharpens iron.
Yes.
So it's like, man, it's perfect opportunity. We got to get my man's Dr. Yu in here for one of these. But no, so I, before we hop off, I definitely want to bring back just a piece with the, there was a bit of, suggestion or advice that people can use on December 24th. And you can say a little bit about that. Yeah, it's just like, because understanding the time, like, because most people are like, I'm like, okay, what day exactly is the solstice? Is it one day? Is it several days? What time is the peak time? When should I be doing? Okay. And so just a little something.
Okay, yeah, sure. So like December 21 through 24 is when the solstice is slated to hit this year. And some just basic things that one can do to kind of be in harmony with the energy. So this is in Chinese medicine, they'll say it's the kidney time period. And the kidneys allow you to have the ability to have stillness, right? To be quiet and to really reflect on your matter, your jing, your essence, right? Who am I? When you ask that question, the response comes from your kidneys, right? A lot of us don't ask those questions. And a lot of times when I'm feeling pulses and I'm feeling for that kidney pulse, there's barely anything coming back. So I know that person doesn't know their purpose, right? And that's jamming them up somehow in their health, right? It might be jamming them up mentally, emotionally, or even physically. But if I feel your pulse on the kidney pulse, and I don't feel much thing bouncing back, I know you're not asking that question too much, right? And that's why the energy is not present. So this is a time if you wanted to strengthen the kidneys, strengthen the je, your ambition, you have to ask those questions in meditation, right? You have to be like, who am I? What am I doing here? All the questions of origin, Genesis,
origin,
all that sort of question. This is the opportune time to ask those questions and ponder and contemplate. All of that will be a meditation that will just through mentality strengthen the kidneys, without herbs, without qigong, without anything, just mentally, mental acupuncture, if you will. So that would be one recommendation. Another recommendation is because we're very receptive on those times of those days, you want to kind of sever all extraneous stimulations, right? You don't want to be listening to radio at that time or TV, even your playlist on your whatever device you're listening to, right? Unless that music is something that you feel is going to carry you to your aspirations and your dreams for the following year, you don't want to bring those energies in, because whatever you bring in those 4 days has tremendous vitality to manifest in the coming life.
Because you're your most receptive. This is the most receptive time, right?
Exactly. Right. So you don't want to be like listening to like I was, like some Mobb Deep on the way up.
Right. You got your Mobb Deep, you got your Havoc and Prodigy, P.
Bandana P, nah, they gotta, that's my people's, but I gotta put them down when
for
days.
manifesting. Yeah.
You know what I mean? So that's kind of the thing. You want to make sure that you're not watching anything, you're bringing in any media that will lead you to like lust or anger or violence or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Everything that's kind of against your divine self-image, you want to like cut that out, and then you become the media, right? You flood yourself with the right media through your mantras, through your visualizations, right? You become your multimedia center.
You're the show. This is your own Netflix. You're the director, producer, the actors, all of it.
All that.
Tune into your own Interflix. Your Interflix.
We're Inflix.
Your Inflix.
That's
That's it, the Inflix.
Yeah,
Man.
so that's really, that's what I could recommend. And, definitely if you have a herbalist around, like Brother Jeff, or even if you hit me up, and we could definitely provide you with a formula, whether, I have an essential oil formula here. So we were talking about frankincense, and you see that's Ruchon. So that is the frankincense here. And I made a blend, and this blend has aromatic herbs that help to open up the mind. So I'm already kind of doing the work now. I'll smell in that so I can be open when I'm talking before the people here.
Right.
But you can see, like, you want something that'll help to open the orifice up and help to open your mind up, your eyes up to see the light, your ears to hear something new about yourself, right? Open up your tongue to speak differently. Sometimes part of our problems is that we speak kind of self-critically about ourselves, and that energy is held in the body, right? The body is just a reflection of the mind, of the spirit. So however your spirit looks, your body's going to reflect that shape. It's going to be stored in the jing, in the kidneys. So you have to use the shen, or the mind, the thinking, and the emotions to alter the jing. And the way we do that in Nigeria, the way we do that in Kemet, was that we hoist a divine self-image, right? So whatever the highest aspect of God that you can conceive, you strive during these 4 days to be just
like that.
Right.
This is where you put in, and it becomes through the engaging or jumping into that role. You become more practiced in embodying what it is that you want to manifest.
Exactly.
It's embodied. That spirit becomes flesh in you. So you're aiming, like, if I'm like, Anuk Asar, it's like, I'm seeing myself.
Yes, the white
crooked
crown,
flail,
mummified, can't do nothing
together,
to me.
Can't be penetrated.
Yeah.
Like, it's just.
Can't stir me up, can't move me emotionally. I'm
solid.
The God body.
Right. So that's the level that we're, suggesting that you take it
4
there.
days, 4 nights, and you'll see benefits coming the following. By the springtime, usually you see something, but definitely by the summer solstice, what you've planted in the winter solstice will start to really sprout up and be strong. And if it's a major thing that you're asking for, you may just have to do a few cycles of solstice time, but it's okay because you're moving towards your goal. But this is a really powerful time to break through those things that people in religion will call strongholds, right? Things that hold you back from being your most dynamic self, your most dynamic expression, things that are holding you back, traumas, dramas that may have occurred in your life that just kind of halt or arrest your life force. This is the time period to take off those cuffs.
Take them off, let it go.
Yeah. So stronger than a psychologist or psychiatrist can do, you do it for yourself in your inflix.
Inflix. That's the new word right there, inflix. We're tuning in to inflix right now.
Yeah, man.
Yeah. Well, that's what's up. Just like always good to build, and you all can just look for. We're gonna keep these coming, man. It's just like, between ourselves, this brother's travels, he's everywhere, but we all get around and
work it out.
Yeah, but we work it out. We make sure we get more of these to just You know, plant some seeds.
Yeah,
And
so let us know if you like this, if you want more. And even if you don't, we still gonna bring it.
we're still going to bring it. It's going to be there. Deal with it. Deal with it later.
This is Nappy Medicine. You know, I might not have naps up here, but I still got the naps.
You got them there.
Representing here.
Got a little something,
You know?
a little something there.
Yeah.
All right, cool.
All right.
All right, word.
Peace, y'all.
Peace.